conversations with a very good friend of mine who asked if I knew you.
Oh, yeah.
Jean Patterson.
Why is that name familiar to you?
She was Jean Berman.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I talked to her virtually, and we have maintained a relationship all these years.
Really? Oh, my goodness. And she's in Rhode Island now?
Yes. Providence. She's been there for years.
Oh, nice.
Shabbos.
What? Yeah, I know. I think about it. Let me tell you something. If they would have served this coffee to Hamas, we wouldn't have a war. They would have given up.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I have your attention before we begin? Very special introduction.
Hello, everybody. My name is Nelson Garcia. I just want to introduce myself real quick. So most of you have seen me. I've been working here at Temple Bethlehem for the last year and a half. Just so you know a little bit about myself, I've been with Temple Judea for the last 17 years. I do security there for the religious studies at Monday night. Very close to Rabbi Fish, also Siegel. And I just wanted to tell you that I'm a very big supporter and a big advocate for Israel.
Wow.
And that's something personal. I think I said that
Any more prints?
to most of
Any more
you
print
that I've
outs?
spoken on a personal
Norman
level.
has it.
Just so you know, our concern is always first and foremost safety. I've only been here about a year and a half. I've spoken to Sharon at length, and we're in a very good position here. In regards to, for example, to Judea. Judea is totally different, more exposed. So I just wanted you to know, my name is Nelson. I'm here every Saturday. I've been here for a year and a half. I got nothing but love and respect for the Jewish people, and we're going to have a safe environment. Thank you so much.
No.
That's good. Gentlemen.
Wow. That's great. What a mensch.
I thank them every time I see them.
Yeah. Test 1, 2. Hopefully this is on. Okay. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Here we go. If you haven't noticed, we have another special guest. Our cantor from our sister congregation in Israel, Evan Cohen, is here. Straight from Jerusalem. He also loves Israel. Not the only one. Okay. It's okay. We've been friends almost 30 years now. So. All right, here we go. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asod et ha-Shabbat le'dorotam berit olam v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asod et ha-Shabbat le'dorotam berit olam b'nei uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam oti le'olam v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asod et ha-Shabbat le'dorotam berit olam ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן, amen. L'chaim. And a blessing for study of Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Amen. Okay, great to see everyone. I'd like to look, Torah portion this week is Vayeshev. It's not, well, it is every year when we come to Hanukkah, we are dealing with the story of Joseph. And there are a lot of connections and similarities between the story of Hanukkah and the story of Joseph. And I'd like to look at one today. So we have really three components that we need to link together, which is the story of Joseph, Hanukkah, and the war in Israel. Right? So, and we've been doing this week after week. I mean, we've seen the war play out in the Torah portion week after week, as we've been talking about for, unfortunately, too long now. And maybe it will continue a little bit today. But I really only want to look at one idea from the Torah portion and then build off of it with some other sources and try to figure out an idea that hopefully will be beneficial for us. So, when the enmity begins, why is it? I mean, we know, even if you haven't been coming to this class for the last 9 years, and you don't remember Joseph and all the story of Joseph, you've at least seen the play. Right? So as long as you've seen the play, you have some, you know a little bit about it. Why is it that when the brothers sell Joseph into slavery, and first they're going to throw him in the pit, why is it that they don't like him? What's the problem with him? He's full of himself? How do we know this? What don't we like about him? They're jealous, but why?
He's a favorite son.
He's awesome. He's better. He what? He gives a foreshadowing, right, or a prophecy that they're all someday going to bow down to him, which, by the way, is what happens. But yes, okay. Paul, can you use the mic, please?
Yeah, two things. One is he's a snitch.
That's right.
The second is that he's at the center of his dreams.
Okay. Now, so far, and what Paul just pointed out, are two things that he does to annoy the brothers through words. He tattletales on them, right? Whenever they eat cheeseburgers, he comes and says, "You're not going to believe what they're doing." And he also tells dreams. So just want to point out the 2 points that Paul mentioned, which you've all mentioned that are exactly right, came through words of mouth. Clear so far? Phil?
He's also clearly the favorite of his father.
Favorite of his father, right. And how do we know that? What did he get? Got the coat. Okay. Now, you know, I have a brother. If he got a coat that I didn't, I wouldn't sell him into slavery. Yeah. I mean, you know, if he tattletaled on me once in a while, which he did. I wouldn't, sell me. So, Joseph must have been pretty annoying to have gotten to this point.
Irritating.
Okay. So, what happens is the brothers are out in the field, and Jacob sends Joseph to go find them. And when he does that, he does something very interesting. Now, we've learned in past class that when Joseph became second in command of Egypt, he never goes back to see how Jacob's doing. And one of the reasons that some of the rabbis offered was because they thought maybe Jacob was in on it. Because what happens is Jacob sends him out to go meet the brothers. The brothers sell him into slavery. Joseph doesn't know that his father wasn't in on it. He doesn't know. It turns out he wasn't. But he didn't know that. And that's why he never wrote a letter back home. You think, you're wondering all this time if your father's alive. You're second in command of Egypt. You could probably figure it out. It's not like he was in New Zealand. He was just over the next country over. He could have sent a guy over and said, hey, here's your job. Go see if he's alive. Give him this letter if he is. Never did that. Okay. All right. So, given all of that, I just want to look at one verse from this week's Torah portion and see where it takes us. So, if you jump with me now to chapter 37 of Genesis, verse 14. Is that the one I want? Yeah. Verse 14. 37:14 in Genesis. Bereshit. Okay. Everyone have it? Okay, Norman.
Israel then said to him, pray, go see how your brothers are and how the flock is doing, and bring me back word. So he sent him from the valley of Hebron, and he came to Shechem.
Okay. Now, bad things always happen in Shechem. Right? That's where Joseph's going to get sold into slavery. That's where Dinah gets raped. There's a lot of terrible things happen in Shechem. But look at the words that's used in Hebrew. We have to remember that every Hebrew word is chosen for a reason, right, in the Torah. So, Vayomer lo, he said to him, Lech na, go now, Ra'ei et shalom achecha. See the peace of your brothers. It's an interesting way of saying it. See what their shalom is. Ve'et shalom hatzon. And how their flocks are doing. Now, two words that I really want to focus on. Remember what I said, the sins that Joseph did to his brothers were through words. Okay? What are words in Hebrew? Devar, right? What's the last book in the Torah? Devarim, right? You've heard of it. Right? Devar, words. So look what Jacob says to Joseph. Vahashiveni davar. Hashiveni. Does that sound familiar? What's it sound like? Not hashkivenu. No, that's a different word. Lashuv. Teshuvah. Right? Return, but we call that on the high holy days. Another word that starts with R, ends with repentance. Yeah. Oh, Jeff got it. Right? Tshuva, right? Venashuva, right? Hashiveni, right? We sing that. Vahashiveni, and return to me, davar, words. And so some rabbis look at this and said what Jacob was saying is, go to your brothers and repent for your words. It's a stretch. Okay. You got a better interpretation. Look, I got to teach the same portion year after year. I got to bring the same stuff every week. Yeah, it's a stretch. By the way, I'm going to prove it. We're just starting. Can we pass the mic back? Does anyone have a microphone? Here. Ah. It's coming. Paul. It's a stretch.
But you mentioned that Joseph committed sins with words toward his brothers. So what sin?
Well, he tattletaled on them.
That's not a sin.
What?
Respectfully, that's not a sin. Unless you're lying about what you're tattling about.
Yeah. Well, he boasted. How's that?
Well, he told about his dream where the fact was he was in the center of it, but that's just reporting the truth.
Well, Jacob didn't feel that way, and that's why Jacob rebukes him. After he tells it, Jacob yells at him and said, "Who do you think you are? I'm supposed to bow down to you?" So this is not Jacob's feeling. You could disagree with Jacob, but in the Torah, Jacob rebukes him for it.
Okay, so maybe boasting.
Okay.
But you're, not if you're reporting the truth.
Well,
Like if I won the gold medal at the Olympics in gymnastics, which, by the way, I didn't, but if I boasted about that
Yeah,
and
sure.
it's true,
Yeah.
that's okay unless I am lying.
No, I hear you. But you don't know, we don't know all the conversations that went on between Joseph and his brothers, but what we do know is that it was so annoying that they thought about killing him for it and sold him into slavery for it.
So we're assuming he lied.
Well, I mean, look, you could say, if I would constantly go to my brother and tell him how wonderful I am, it's like Ed said, I didn't want to say it. I mean, Ed said, obviously, it's true, right? But it's
annoying.
It's annoying, it's prideful, it's boastful, it's not how you're supposed to behave. And when he does it, Jacob says to him, enough. It's not right.
Okay, but personally, annoyance for me isn't a sin. So I will step back with my
Okay, so you're missing what I'm saying. Jacob is telling Joseph, what you've done is too much. So what we as Torah readers have to say is Jacob probably, in his, he was there. And so we go with it. That's that. And now, you could say Jacob's wrong, but from Jacob's perspective, what some rabbis say with these two words and the way the Torah crafted this, v'hashiveni davar, which is a weird way of saying anything, that's why we bring it out, he's saying, in my opinion, Jacob, in my opinion, you've bothered them to the point where it's sinful, and I would like you to go and make amends. That's all I'm saying. Whether it's right or not, an actual sin or not, right, we can pull hairs with that all day long. So.
But sometimes about guarding your tongue or right speech isn't just about telling the truth or not. I mean, sometimes telling the truth is the wrong thing to do. So,
right.
And you have to watch how you say things, and maybe even telling the truth about your dream, if you're boasting about it to make somebody feel bad, is a sin, or is, I don't know if it's a sin. It's not the right thing to do. It's not guarding your speech properly.
Agreed. John? I didn't mean to turn this into an ethics debate. But.
So I think there are at least two very clear sins. Number one, he didn't respect his father and his mother. The way he told the story, there are lots of ways to tell a story, but one of them is not, you're going to bow down to me, Dad,
right.
in public.
Exactly.
And secondly, we know factually that whatever he was doing was so damaging to the peace of the family, to the Shalom Bayit, that it destroyed it in a way that, as you point out, they were literally ready to kill him.
Exactly.
And that, too, is sinful.
That's a better way of getting to what I was trying to say, which is why when Jacob sends him out, he says, go and see how their shalom is. Like in Hebrew, we say, ma shalomcha, ma shalomech, how are you? The way we say how are you is, what is your peace? If your peace isn't that good, then it's a problem. Victor?
So there's something on verse 11 that supports what
your theory that that was the reason he sent them over to make amends. If you see the very last word on verse 11, Shamar et davar.
Yeah,
there was
very
something
nice.
going on there with this davar.
Yafeh. Very nice, very nice, very nice. Okay, now, there was a soldier who really what he did in life was he was a principal of a school in Jerusalem, in Gush Etzion area, which is like the West Bank adjacent area of Jerusalem, Jewish area, named Yossi Hershkovitz. And about a month ago, he died in Gaza fighting. He's a reserve soldier. Now, he wrote, I want to read you something that he wrote. And he wrote, I don't know, this was a transcription of a video that he made and sent from Gaza to people that he knew. I think it was his parents, because I know he sent them some stuff as well, but it's in Hebrew. I'm going to read it and then translate it, okay? I just want you to hear what he has to say. And trying to connect what's going on in our world today with this relationship. Now, notice that when Jacob sends Joseph to the brothers, it uses his name Israel, right? Not Jacob, to show that what's happening now with this group of people is Ma'aseh Avot Siman Labanim, right? It's something that happens to one generation, but it's a microcosm for all of the Jewish people, or all of Israel. And who are his sons? You could say they're Jacob's kids. That's one way of saying it. Another way of saying it is they're Bnei Yisrael. They're the children of Israel, which means Jews today. So this is what Yossi Hershkovitz sent in a video message from Gaza while he was in Gaza, and very tragically he was killed. He was a very beloved and well-known principal of a school in Jerusalem. He says, Ani rotzeh levakesh bakasha. I want to make a request. Zut kufa lo kala. This is not an easy time. Vanim vevakesh bevakasha michol echad po. And I request from everyone here. Davar rishon v'chi chashuv. The first thing and the most important thing, for me, lo lagid lashon hara al Yisrael. That there shouldn't be lashon hara, there shouldn't be words against Jews. Shum davar, none at all. Okay, remember v'hashiveni davar. The sin was through words. Al tagidu mila ra'ah, don't say a bad word. Lo lachzor al ma shaya lifnei. Don't go back to what was before. Klum, not at all. Because remember, before the war started, things weren't going so well in Israeli society. And then he says, Ein smolani ve'en yamini. There's no right-wingers, there's no left-wingers. Ein charedi, ein klum. There's no ultra-Orthodox, there's nothing. Yesh Yehudim. There's just Jews. Ha-Hamasnikim ha-Naziim. The Nazi Hamasniks. Lo hifridu. They don't make a distinction. Lo inyanotam b'ma bacharta. They don't care what you choose. U'ma tachoshev, or what you think. Zechesh bon hanefesh. Shekol hazman sarich lasim lanu barosh. This is like a mental check for all time that we need to put in our head. Lo lagid lashon hara. Don't say lashon hara. Okay, and then he gives a biblical example. And then he says, Kshemishu yidaber kacha, when someone will speak like this, lo natnim lo. We shouldn't allow it. Kulam mashtikim oto. Everyone together needs to silence it. Anachnu lo medabrim al zeh. We shouldn't talk this way. Kama anachnu tovim. How good we are, the Jews. Anachnu bacharnu batov. We've chosen good. Tarbu batov. We increase in goodness. Titnu tzedakah. We give charity. Titpalu. Pray. Hatfilot shalanu. This is something very interesting that he says. Hatfilot shalanu. Our prayers. Lo chot v'lo chazrot la'aretz. The prayers that we offer, they don't go up to heaven and then come back to the ground. HaKadosh Baruch Hu lo yashiv otam rekam. God doesn't receive them empty-handed. Right, okay, it doesn't, that's right. Hen mitvasfot l'mayanot hadmaot shel kol ha'anashim hamiskanim shenirtzachu. They're gathered into fountains of tears of all of the unfortunate people that were murdered. Yesh kol kach harbe zchuyot achshav ba'am Yisrael. There are so many, rights that we have now in the land of Israel. Kol kach harbe giborim. So many heroes, shenaflu, that fell, v'masru et nafsham, who gave their lives. Tiyu chazakim, let's be strong. Bezrat Hashem, and with God's help, anachnu nitra'eh b'karov, we'll see soon, acharei nitzachon ma'od ma'od gadol, after a great victory, v'shua ma'od ma'od gadola, and a great salvation. Ohev ma'od et kulam, love everyone. Et kulchem, all of you. Megageh, I miss you. Shabbat shalom. Okay. And then he died a bit after that in battle. So what's his message in light of the Torah portion this week so far? Pretty clear, right? Rich?
Words, as in Genesis, can create, and words can destroy.
Very nice. And actually, I heard another Devar Torah this week on, someone was talking about fire. Fire also. Depends how you use it. Fire can incinerate, but on Hanukkah, it could also give us a very powerful symbol of light, right? So depends how you use it. Okay. Given all of that, want to see if we can figure something out. If you think of the darkest times in the Tanakh, if you think of, when I say the Tanakh, I mean the entire Hebrew Bible, right? Not just the Torah. You think of one time that was the absolute darkest moment in the entire Tanakh for the Jewish people. What might it be? Richard? Okay. First temple. No, just in the Bible. In the Bible. Although in Jewish history, obviously, right? Paul?
Haman's decree.
Right. Okay. So Haman's decree is worse than anything because as horrible as the destruction of the first temple was, all the Jews weren't killed. They were exiled, which is horrible. But that's not as bad as Haman, which was a final solution type thing. We're going to kill all the Jews. So Esther and Mordecai, who are the leaders at the time, have to figure something out. And the way that they go about that, figuring something out, by the way, this is an idea relating Esther to all this that I heard from a contemporary female Orthodox scholar named Michal Horowitz, who put this together. I learned this idea from her, but she connected Esther to this, so I want to share it with you. So if you look on the source sheet, the first source is Esther chapter 3, verse 13. A lot of this should sound pretty familiar to us. Edith, would you mind ringing? Do you have a microphone in your?
Accordingly, written instructions were dispatched by couriers to all the king's provinces to destroy, massacre, and exterminate all the Jews, young and old, children and women, on a single day, on the 13th day of the 12th month, that is, the month of Adar, and to plunder their possessions.
All right. So there was a crazy, crazy, crazy Orthodox rabbi who said probably the most offensive thing I've ever heard in my life. I mean, I could sit here all day and try to come up with something more offensive than what he said. And it was, everyone agreed this was like the worst thing you could ever say. He said only 1.5 million Jews were killed in the Holocaust. Why? Because only 1.5 were Orthodox. So we don't count the rest. Just like the most offensive thing you could ever say in human history, right? So Unless, like, if you said that at Penn, it's okay. If you say it at Penn, it's fine. But it's not, because you have to understand the context. You have to understand the context. But, so at Penn, it's okay. But anywhere else on the planet, except for maybe a couple other schools, that's offensive. You didn't see the testimony? Yeah. Oh, okay, all right. You have to study it first. Yeah, that testimony was the equivalent of what this guy said. But this was a Jew. So if you look at what Yossi Hershkovitz, Hashem Yimkom Damo, said, he said, listen, the Nazis didn't ask, are you Sephardic? Are you Ashkenazic? Are you liberal? Do you hate God? What do you eat? They didn't ask. You're dead. And I want to just point out that in verse 13 here, in Hebrew, it says that Haman's plan, it's very specific in the way it's written, Ula'abed et kol ha-Yehudim. If you look on the second line. And our goal is to exterminate et kol, all the Jews, right? So there's something to be said for that. So, also the voice et kol, right? The voice. Well, it's spelled differently, but it's pronounced the same. What's that called? A homonym? Homophone? Homophobic? What? Homophone. Oh, I don't know, whatever. My dad's an ear doctor. I should know that. Wait, what is it? Like coal and coal. They're spelled differently, but they're pronounced the same. It's called a... Homophone. Homophone. Okay. I didn't hear what you said.
I'm a language arts teacher. Trust me when I tell you it's a homophone.
We believe you. Hillary? Yes.
He was the principal of what kind of a school?
He was modern Orthodox. But it was a Zionist school. It was one of the Ort schools, O-R-T, which is not an Orthodox school. It's just a Zionist school. But if you want to Google him, his name is Yossi Hershkovitz, and there's a lot of information about him online. Okay, so Edith, would you take us through the second source now? So what I wanted to point out in Esther 3, verse 13, was that it specifically said, we're not coming to kill the Jews. We're coming to kill all the Jews. Okay, so now if you look in Esther chapter 4, verses 12 through 17, Edith?
When Mordecai was told that what Esther had said, Mordecai had this message delivered to Esther. Do not imagine that you, of all the Jews, will escape with your life by being in the king's palace.
Right, and what is Mordecai saying to Esther there? This is a decree for all the Jews. It doesn't matter if you're famous. It doesn't matter if you're rich. It doesn't matter if you're the queen. You're Jewish. We're all the same. We're all the same group. We're not all the same, but we're all the same group. Okay, that's what I have so far.
On the contrary, if you keep silent in this crisis, relief and deliverance will come to the Jews from another quarter, while you and your father's house will perish. And who knows, perhaps you have attained to royal position for just such a crisis. Then Esther sent back this answer to Mordecai. Go assemble all the Jews who live in Shushan and fast in my behalf. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. And I and my maidens will observe the same fast. Then I shall go to the king, though it is contrary to the law, and if I am to perish, I shall perish. So Mordecai went about the city and did just as Esther had commanded him.
Okay, so Esther says, all right, if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to go to Achashverosh and, break the law and appear before the king, so I wouldn't recommend this in your marriage. Like, you wouldn't say to your wife, I'm watching the game. You're not to enter. Right? It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's not recommended. Many men have tried. Many men have... Okay. All right. So why does Esther give Mordecai the directive that she does? And why does he follow it? What is the directive?
We're all the same.
We're all the same, but how do you know that? Because who's going to fast? Is it the elders? Is it the rabbi? I mean, who's going to fast?
Everyone.
There's something that we need to do together. Together. And if you all do it, and we all do it, then we'll be united, and then maybe we have a chance. In other words, if we're going to subvert the evil decree, we have to be united. Make sense? And by the way, you know the end of the story. It worked. Would it have worked if she had gone to Achashverosh and said, here's what's happening, but they didn't have that fast that they did all together? Would it still have worked? Well, if it didn't, none of us would be here. So, okay. Now, something else that happens in last week's Torah portion. You remember Jacob wrestles with the angel. And he gets his sciatic nerve wrenched, which I never really thought much about until I got sciatica. Because I was like, yeah, okay, big deal. And then I said, I see, now I get it. Now I get it. Sciatica hurts from here to here. I mean, it's unreal. It's the entire body is wound with sciatica. That's one thing I learned when I had. And you know why I got it? Because the chair that I was sitting on at home during COVID did not suit me. And that's how I got, but now that COVID's over, I feel a little better. All right, there's an idea that we can learn from when Jacob goes out and wrestles with the angel that's brought out by the students of Rashi who wrote when you're looking at the Talmud, and there's that part in the center, and then on one side there's Rashi of commentary, and on the other side there's other people's commentary. Those other commentary are called the Tosfot. They're Rashi's students, the next generation of mainly French scholars. And that's there, when you're looking at the Talmud, that's their commentary on the Talmud. But they also wrote a commentary on the Torah. And that commentary is called Da'at Zakenim. So if you look at what they had to say, Rashi's students, on the story of Jacob wrestling with the angel, you remember, why is he alone? He's alone because he went to look for some jars, which is kind of a weird thing to do, but maybe they had jelly beans in them, whatever he needed. He went out to look for his jelly beans or whatever, and when he was alone, the angel came and they had the wrestling match. So look what the Da'at Zakenim, Judy, would you mind taking us forward on 32-33?
Therefore, the children of Da'at of Israel to this day do not eat the thigh muscle. The words
Al-Kain.
Here mean as a permanent reminder of the miracle that had saved their founding father in his contest with the angel, who had only been able to inflict a minor injury on him, instead of killing him as he had intended. The undertaking is similar to a person who, after suffering for long periods from headaches or pains in the region of his heart, vows not to eat the head or the heart of the animal forthwith, as a sign of gratitude for having been healed.
Okay, so that's one idea. But whenever the rabbis say, here's another idea, it's because they think that first idea wasn't enough. It's not satisfying enough. So this is the idea I really want to focus on, the Dvar Acher.
The words Al-Kain mean as a result of this, that is, as a result of having narrowly escaped death, as a result of having remained exposed to danger alone during the night. The Israelites learned that this is not the correct way to behave at night and alone. Abstaining from eating the thigh muscle is the visible reminder of the fact that this lesson had been internalized by the people as an inadmissible way to behave.
Okay, so if you are a kosher butcher, one of the things you need to know how to do first and foremost is to remove that nerve from the animal. And that's called in Hebrew linaker. It's explained in tractate in the Talmud called Chulin, where they would take out, they teach the butcher how to remove that. So there's all kinds of laws in halacha. Let's say you have a piece of meat, and you're not sure if it's been handled by non-Jews or not. Because if it has been, then you're not allowed to eat it. And so you look to see if it's been cut at all. And if it hasn't been cut, but if it's cut in a certain spot, you know that it was a kosher butcher who would have done it because nobody else would do that. So there's all kinds of different laws about that. I kind of vaguely didn't understand them the first time I studied them many years ago. Yeah.
I thought you couldn't eat from the hind part of the animal.
What? What do you mean?
I thought it was non-kosher to eat from the hind part of the animal. You could only eat from the fore part. So the sciatic nerve would be in the hind part.
It's not that you don't eat it. It's that it needs to be removed before anything else can be done with it. So the very first thing that a butcher has to do is find that nerve and pull it out. That's the rule. But see Chulin for more information. I didn't. It's very hard to understand. I went through it and I didn't understand it. They say though that when you're studying it, you need a chart of an animal, so you can, which I didn't have when I did it. But after going through it for a while, I said, you know what? I'm not a butcher. What do I need? All right. Okay, so I think I've told you in the past, the funny thing about it was the act of pulling it out is called menaker. And when I was in Charlotte, my dentist's last name was Menaker. It's the same word. He never removed any of my teeth, but every time I went to visit him, I would tell him it's unreal. He was Jewish. It's unreal that that's your name and you pull teeth for a living. It was just, what are the chances? It's like when I was in Fort Myers, wasn't my doctor, but in the same practice that I went to, and my dermatologist, there was a doctor named Dr. Skinner. And, some people are just born for certain things. Yeah.
Okay, in that vein.
Oh, shkoyach.
I represented a optometrist whose name was Dr. Shiner, and his office was at 2020 163rd.
Oh, wow, that's great. That's like the Holocaust Memorial downtown. Do you guys know about the address of the Holocaust Memorial? It's the most unbelievable thing. Like one of the most incredible things about Miami is that when they were trying to pick a spot for where the Holocaust Memorial is going to be, and it's a profound memorial, the literal address of the street is 1939 to 1945. That's the actual address of the street. And they didn't even realize that when they were looking, and then they found out and they said, oh, we have to have this piece of land. And it's an unbelievable thing. So, all right. So I want to focus on what do we learn? What does the Dad Zakanim learn? What moral do they take out of what happened with Jacob? So in the alternate interpretation, they say, listen, as a result of this, it's not only that we don't eat the sciatic nerve, it's that the sciatic nerve, we don't eat it to remind us of something. What is it that it reminds us of? As a result of having narrowly escaped death, as a result of having remained exposed to danger alone during the night. When Jacob went to look for his jars or whatever he was looking for, all the brothers let him go alone. And they didn't accompany him. And he became endangered because of it. and he was confronted because of it, and he was injured because of it. And the Dad Zakenim said, hey, we're not supposed to do that. Right? And so abstaining from eating the thigh muscle is a visible reminder of the fact that this lesson has been internalized by the people as an inadmissible way to behave. You can't allow other Jews to be endangered. Which, by the way, is what happened on October 7th. Never should have happened. Never should have been allowed to happen. I mean, I'm not in the Mossad, but my fictional being is tangentially involved with them. I mean, that's all I can say. That's all I can tell you. Yeah, right. Rabbi Groh. By the way, if you're still looking for a Hanukkah gift, still available. Still available. All right. Now, at the end of Jacob's life, if you'll just skip with me, I just want to look at one more verse. But if you'll skip with me to chapter, this is going to be annoying, but all the way to chapter 49, verse 1. Genesis chapter 49, verse 1. Forty-nine. Okay, now, Ken, do you have it?
And Jacob called his sons and said, "Come together, that I may tell you what is to befall you in days to come."
Okay, so if you look at the Hebrew, Vayikra Yaakov, Jacob called out El Banav to his sons, Vayomer, and he said, and there's an interesting word here that the Hebrew uses, Hey Asfu. Anyone know the word Osef? What is Osef? A collection, right? Like Shlomo Artzi's greatest hits or whatever, or Arik Einstein, HaOsef. The collection, not the car place. That's only for, whatever, there's a lot of jokes there. Hey Asfu, come together. Osef. Does that sound like any of the names of the brothers? Yosef. Right. Now, Yosef means it's a different word. Lahosif is to add. But it's the same, there's a homophone or homophone, whatever it is. It's not exact, but it sounds similar. Osef and Yosef sound similar. So when we say gather the brothers together, it's like saying, Joseph, come back with the rest of the group. And the rest of the group except Joseph. Because he's the one who separated from them. The rest of them are pretty much, Benjamin's really little, but the rest of them are pretty much connected. And Joseph needs to be reattached. So, one of the things that we know is that Jacob was a prophet. And Jacob is now looking at his sons and he's saying, I want you to come back together and I'm going to tell you now what's going to happen at the end of days, in the Messianic era. How do we know that? Look what it says. The last two words, Ba'acharit hayamim. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen at the end of days. But then, Jacob doesn't. He doesn't tell him anything about the end of days. And the rabbis explain, because he didn't like what he saw. Because what happens is, the Jewish people ultimately, with Joshua, enter into the land of Israel after the whole Egypt experience, which was also, kind of a negative thing. But they come to Israel, And it doesn't take long. It only takes 4 kings in before they unattach. And who goes to the north? Joseph. Right? Judah's in the south. Israel's in the north, but Israel's made of Manasseh and Ephraim, which were the tribes of Judah, and other tribes, but they're the north, and the south remains below Benjamin, Judah, Levi, and they never reattach because we have the 10 lost tribes who get swallowed up into the Assyrian kingdom. And so what Jacob says is, I'm going to gather you all together. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. You know what? Never mind. I'm not. Let's not go there, because all I ever wanted was for you all to come together, and you're all together right now, but it's going to disassemble again. See that? Okay. If you need proof, you can look at Rashi. I brought it there on 49:1, that I may tell you. In other words, that I can tell you what's going to happen at the end of the days. Rashi says, he wished to reveal to them the end of Israel's exile, but the Shekhinah departed from him, meaning God's presence left him, and he began to speak of other things because it wasn't a good story. What was he going to say? I got great news. Here's what's going to happen. You know how you're all sitting here and everything's wonderful? That's going to end soon because you're all terrible. Right. So that's not a winning, closing speech.
He doesn't necessarily hold back.
No, he does not. And some of the brothers don't even get blessings because of what they've done. Okay. But we'll get there in a couple weeks. Now, Psalm 133:1, you may have heard of it before. I don't know if you've heard it. So, yeah, it goes like this. This is going to sound weird and esoteric, one of those crazy old Psalms. Hine ma tovu man. Yeah. Oh, you do know it. You have? I didn't know you knew the Psalms by heart. I didn't know you were all evangelicals who knew the whole Bible by heart. Those guys are amazing. You see them on the street. Deuteronomy 22:4. Yeah, and they're like, like what?
Selective vision.
Joe?
With your vision and our initiative, I was asked to read this psalm to in a black church in Overtown, the AME church.
Uh-huh.
And I read the first verse in Hebrew, and there were all these black pastors and reverends behind me. When I said it, they went, "Amen, brother." It shocked me so much. I stopped reading. I turned around to see what was going on. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But it was about unity.
That's cool.
Which I think is where you're going.
Well, so, Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim. So, how wonderful and good we dwell together as brothers and sisters, whatever. But then, you could just say yachad. Yachad means together, or biyachad. But there's a word added. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim, gam. What's gam? Awesome. Why do we need it? How wonderful it is that we dwell together. How wonderful it is that we dwell also together as brothers and sisters. What's the gam? Why do we need the gam? Any ideas?
That we maintain the togetherness.
Yes. It's not only that we're all doing the mitzvahs. It's that we're doing them together. And there's a difference. You could be a great Jew over there, and I'm a great Jew over here, but we live on a deserted island, and that's your shul, and that's my shul, and that's the shul that neither of us go to or would set foot in, right? You know that joke? Yeah. Right. We don't even tell jokes anymore. We just say the punchlines. Right. I mean, we don't even... 20... Yeah, but it's the way that you say it, right? The gam in Hine ma tov is that we do it together. Right? Gam yachad, also that it's together. Not just that we do it, but we do it together. Okay. If you look on the back of the sheet, a very, very famous idea from the Talmud, which is also, you probably know it better from the Midrash, but you know when the Jews were at Mount Sinai, and there's this Midrash that says God picked up the mountain and said, here's your choices. You can accept the Torah, or I'm going to drop this mountain on you, or you could not accept the Torah, or you can accept it and everything will be fine, or you cannot accept it and this will be your end.
Not much of a choice.
Okay, so it's mentioned also in the Tractate of Shabbat, 88a. Rav Avdimi Bar Chama Bar Chasa said, the Jewish people actually stood beneath the mountain. And the verse teaches that the Holy One, blessed be He, overturned the mountain and the Jews like a tub, not a hub, a tub, and said to them, if you accept the Torah, excellent, and if not, this will be your burial. And Rashi says, literally, under the mountain. So, like, that's a weird thing. How can you stand underneath a mountain? Well, because God picked it up. And it's like a tub. It was shaped like a tub that they would be dropped on. So the idea is, though, and the rabbis explain this more, if we would go into the Gemara, it's not so much that God was gonna drop this on them. What he was really saying is, who's under the mountain? Everyone together. You're all together. So you either, and this is, I think, the message of the whole story. It wasn't actually going to drop the mountain on them. You either all accept this and agree to do it together, or don't bother. It's either something that's done all together or don't bother. Now, how do we know that something having to do with unity happened at Mount Sinai? We know it from Exodus 19:2. So, and Israel, and what it says there is, and I only brought the Rashi, but you have the phrase there, the last source on the sheet, and there Israel encamped as one man with one mind. But all their other encampments were made in a murmuring spirit and in a spirit of dissension. So wherever they were, when they were schlepping around the wilderness, they were always fighting with each other, and things weren't going very well, up to the point where they got to, until they finished making the tabernacle. But when they got to Mount Sinai and they accepted the Torah, at that one moment, there was tremendous unity. And there wasn't murmuring and dissension. What's murmuring and dissension? Sinning with words. What was the problem with Joseph and his brothers? Sinning with words. What does sinning with words lead to? Dissension between the brothers. Who are the brothers? A microcosm for the Jewish people. Does that make sense? Okay, so now what happens is, we see that there was this one moment in time where at Mount Sinai, the Jewish people were able to come together and overcome something. And just like we saw with Esther, when we were most threatened, the Jewish people were able to do a mitzvah together and overcome the darkest moment in the Tanakh. And you could probably say that in the 3 years after the Holocaust, there was a unifying force amongst the Jewish people that helped to build and create the third temple, right? The state of Israel. And so you see now, right before this war, when Israel was not attached, when Jewish communities in America and around the world are not attached, that on October 7th, it's starting to reattach. Are there still problems? Of course. But it's reattached in a way that it's never been. And the one word, well, there's two words, but the one word that precedes the first of the two words everywhere in Israel is biyachad, ninatzeach. Together, or yachad ninatzeach, together we can overcome anything. So I'll leave you with the words of Yossi Hershkowitz. One more time. Allah v'shalom, who said, Tiyu chazakim. Let us together be strong. Anachnu nitra'eh b'karov. And if we do, then we will see soon. Achrei nitzachon ma'od ma'od gadol. After a big, big victory. Vishua ma'od ma'od gadolah. And salvation, a great and great salvation. And his way of doing that he learned from this war, was not to go back to the way it was before. Now, after Mount Sinai, we ended up separating and we had two kingdoms. And after the Jews came back again and built the second temple, we were again destroyed and exiled and split up. But today, there are really two main Jewish communities. I mean, there's Jews all over the world. But there's really two main Jewish communities. There's only two communities that are over 1 million Jews. There are only two communities that are anywhere even near 1 million Jews. And that's the United States and Israel. And that connection, can never be broken. So the message, I think, of Vahashiveni Davar was Jacob saying to his sons, you guys need to figure out how to get along and how to stick together. Because if you don't, you're not going to make it. Okay, Shabbat Shalom.
know, it's well, we should be sending me more often. Actually, I'm in Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions.
Yeah, we're making progress. We're about halfway there. Yeah, hopefully we'll be done by then. You know, we got off to a really good start. Yeah, well, most of the people who gave are people that I texted individually. So there's a lot more people to text. So, but we'll get there. Oh, awesome stuff. All right. Well, send it to anyone you can think of.
Right after whole way came to mind,
Yeah.
there's a description of the spices when the caravan was carrying.
Yeah.
Rashi saying,
Right. Which means really the tar and the oil, right?
The spices when described there, one of the spices when described there is the same one described in the Mishnah for estimate for
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. I've seen that. That's good stuff.
Which spice was it? Was it myrrh or?
There's a clue in everything. There's a clue in everything. You just have to find the connections, or find the rabbi who found the connections. Just recall.
Speaking of a clue, I knew that coal is with a kuf instead of a kaf, but still, silencing the voice of the Jews as well.
That's right.
Could you argue, through all of these sources, that words create the problem?
Hi. How are you, man?
So, for example, the Tree of Haven is words. The fasting is action. Joseph, in the last couple chapters, Joseph's words make his brothers angry at him. And what does he do in the end? He gives them the food that they need to survive. So,
I like that.
that was something I was noticing.
Very good.
Scriptorial solo.
Yeah.
Not Jessica.
Yeah, dude.
Scriptorial solo.
Yeah.
Not the no name. It's the no name. It's the no name camp. Anyway, great. It's good to see you. When are you going back? Well, back to Israel.
Back to Israel.
Yeah, you got another weekend.
So I'm here also after and then I'm flying to one of Rabbi Barrett's
And how big is that congregation?